Hey, welcome back to the Valley Mills Christian Church Podcast. My name is Joe McNeil. I'm the Spiritual Growth Coordinator.
I'm Ezra Davis, the Student Minister.
And I'm Mark Stair, the Worship Arts Minister.
And today we're going to talk about getting things started, like fires. No, I'm just kidding. Dinner. You should probably get dinner started.
Probably.
Kidding also. All joking aside. Getting started in terms of ministry. So some of you may be wondering, how do you kind of break into ministry? How do you get things going? What are some things that I need to look out for and things like that? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. It's not going to be an over-encompassing giant information bomb, but just some anecdotal information that you might help you and you might find useful. So first and foremost, what I usually recommend, and I've had a lot of people just not only here at Valley Mills, but just in life and different things, want to get things started for that, and they've asked my opinion because I've done a lot of different things over the years. And the first thing I tell people is to get to know yourself and to get to know what you're good at and to get to know what your gifts are. So first thing is to really take a spiritual gifts test. If you haven't done one in a while, I recommend doing one again. There's one on our website. There's plenty of them that are out there, but find one that looks good and is looking like it's going to give you the information you need. But you need to find out what spiritual gifts you have, because you definitely don't want to get plugged into a place that you're not gifted to suit, gifted for. So, for example, if you hate children, you should probably not be in children's ministry.
Actually, sign up today if you hate children. I'm just kidding.
But the thing to look at with that is the different gifts kind of lean towards different ministries. For example, hospitality is a spiritual gift that some people have, and that's like opening up your home, making sure people are taken care of, and that kind of thing. Not everybody has that stuff, and if everybody worked the same exact way, then life here on this planet would be boring, and we wouldn't hardly get anything done. Or we wouldn't need anybody either, and that's kind of a drawback too. So the second thing is, after you've kind of looked at the spiritual gift test, look at what you're good at and what you're interested in. So maybe you're good at working on cars. Maybe you fix up the cars.
That rhymes.
Yeah. And maybe you like
Drop a beat.
scrapbooks. Yeah. Maybe you lure fish hooks.
There we go.
Ad hoc right there. Anyway, so there's a lot of different things that you could be good at, and ministry. To clarify, doesn't necessarily have to be a Bible study. It doesn't necessarily have to be a worship art. It can be something that you are using to pour into other people. So ministry is ministering to people, which is, taking care of them, encouraging them, teaching them, strengthening them in any way, shape, or form, is being there for people. And that could just even sometimes be in the same room with someone doing the same thing. It brings a lot of comfort to people. Sometimes they need that. And that's a real great way to minister to people. So don't undervalue what you think you might be good at or what you think might be a ministry. But you also don't want to inflate that. We'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit. But we'll turn this conversation on here to what do you guys think as far as like starting ministry? What are some things beyond those that I just mentioned that you feel are good, important starting bases for ministry and things?
I can touch on that. So yeah, these are a little microphone shy or something right now.
No, I'm just trying to be courteous. Like,
thank
for
you,
me,
Ezra.
I'm like,
he's being chivalrous.
I'm being chivalrous. If you listen to the last one,
If you haven't, stop right now. Watch that one and come back.
Then come back.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So other areas of where ministry can be done, like Joe said, is not just confined to studying the Bible or watching a movie like a Christian movie like God's Not Dead, right?
Those things are important.
Yeah, they are important.
They're very important.
Do them, but it doesn't have to start there. I was going to get to that. Thank you, thank you, Ezra.
I just wanted to get the cart.
Yeah.
Did you want him to go first?
I didn't want them to just totally stop this podcast, stop watching just because of what I said. So, thank you for jumping in on that. So
sorry,
it's all good. But yeah, so we have this thing here at Valley Mills that Frank Smith started, and it's, I guess, a specialty group where we meet here on every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. to play basketball. And like, just in and of itself, it's not, biblically rooted or whatever. We don't read about anybody in the Bible playing basketball or anything, right? So, but
first hesitations, 3:10 out of 10.
But there is ministry that can be done. So at basketball, what I've noticed every Thursday that I've been there is that there's people from the church. Frank's there, I'm there, Danny Dickerson's there, Mike Delcleff's there. So there's people from the church that are involved in this. But on the other side of the coin, there's other people there that do not go to church or do not come to Valley Mills or may not have faith at all. But, we connect on this common interest of, enjoying the game of basketball.
We don't tell them to leave?
No. I know. It's very, yeah. So, it's just making those connection points. And I think basketball, among many other things, is just a way for other people to get connected. And that's the heart of it. That's the root of it is relationship. And relationships are forged, I think, in bulk, not within the walls of the church primarily, although that's really great, right? Fellowship is great in coming and worshiping together on Sunday morning. That is important. But just as important as that is going outside these walls, the other 6 days of the week where we can really make an impact and develop relationships that can open up doors for ministry to happen. So,
I think playing off of what you just said, I think the overarching theme here is being the church. If you look in early scripture, Christ didn't go from when he was doing his ministry. He didn't go in all the years that he was doing his ministry. He didn't go and beat scripture over the head of the people that he was talking to. He got to know them through fellowship. He did audacious things, like going to Zacchaeus' house, just being audacious and doing things that went against the grain. And nowadays, I mean, we shy away from those vulnerable places. Mm-hmm. So I think the name of the game when you're starting a ministry is being vulnerable, being okay with going, I mess up. For instance, today I went to a procedure that I wrote down the wrong date and traveled all the way to Greenwood thinking that it was today, and it's actually tomorrow. So, just the opportunity to go and be transparent with the people that you're ministering is huge. And being that raw and real person with the people that you're rubbing shoulders with, no matter if you're in vocational ministry or if you are starting a underwater basket weaving ministry. You know what I mean?
And what's vocational ministry?
Vocational ministry is something, Ezra terms, it might have a little bit more formality. But for me, vocational ministry means that you are getting paid to do ministry. Mm-hmm. You are doing, that's what you do from it's not a 9-to-5 job, so I hate using 9 to 5, but that's what you do on a regular basis, that's what you get paid for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here's the next one. Spiritual tests. What do you like? What are your interests? Third point is, if you're looking to do ministry as a vocation, just to get paid and all that, you're not going to be happy with what's happening out of that. Because there are not very big, high-paying minister jobs out there. And most ministers should hopefully tell you that they're not doing it for the money. They're not doing it because it's such a glamorous, high-paying job. It's just not like that. It's definitely a service to God, to the community that you're pledging to be a part of. So whether you're looking to do vocational church work, ministry, or you're looking just to start up, what we're talking about here, you need to have your heart in the right place, and your motive being that it's about God and it's about the community for it. So one ministry that I'm working on starting with one of the people here in the congregation We're going to be calling it Page Turners, and it's a group that's going to meet with mentally handicapped adults, and we're all going to read together. We're going to pick some different, maybe some C.S. Lewis books or some things that might be good to read. And
You enjoying that, Ezra?
Ezra's invited. But it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I have two brothers who are mentally handicapped, so it's definitely something that I care about. And I think that it's a great opportunity to do something that isn't hard. You're just sitting down and reading, but you're devoting time. You're servicing the community in that sense. And that's the community that you're servicing. And that's kind of the fourth point, is when you're looking to do these things, who are you looking to do these things for? So, you start something for basketball people because we have a gym. There's that. We have a bunch of people that want to play basketball.
Because he's the next
That's
LeBron
cool.
James.
I don't know about that. See, I'm not athletically inclined enough to play basketball. I don't have the coordination, so you won't see me on the court. You might see me in court. I'll see. No, I'm just kidding. I'll see you in
Cue the
court.
law and order.
Dun, dun. But you need to know who you're planning this for and the community that you're servicing to. So in this particular case, the lady at church here saw a need, or even had a implantation on her heart that God had put an idea in there and said, "Hey, this is something that would be good for people like that have that are caring for mentally handicapped people or the mentally handicapped people themselves, just to be able to get out of the house and get together and read and stuff like that." So I think that's pretty cool, and that's one way of looking at those different ministries is knowing who you're ministering.
I just something to add is if you are trying to start not a new ministry, because chances are it's not new, it's innovative. It might be innovative for your environment, but if you are trying to do an innovative ministry, whether it be the book reading, whether it be underwater basket weaving, whatever it might be, understand that you are ministering to people, to imperfect people. So what that means when I'm saying that is, it's going to be hard to get something off the ground and gain traction. Whatever it might be, because people are going to come out to it, they're going to be attracted to it, and then they're going to go, okay, we're going to take a step back. And it always happens. I remember when I first started here, is the new youth minister came out. I don't know why they came out to see my ugly mug, but they did. We gained a little bit of traction, and then all of a sudden it was like poof, nobody was there. And I mean, not nobody was there, but we had very, very low numbers starting out, and that was because everybody wants to see what's going on, and then they dial back. So now we're at a good place in the student ministry because I've been here for 5 years and I've invested time, and that's really what it's all about. Is if you invest time in these people and you're legitimate about what you're doing, then they're gonna build a relationship with you. They're gonna build camaraderie, and they're gonna build equity with you. So don't be discouraged if that first initial launch point is not where you want it to be. Set a goal. And allow that goal to flourish to the point where you're still and steadily working at it, and allow God to guide you through that goal.
And you may not hit that goal, but the point isn't to meet some rubric. It's not meant to be measured in some earthly means. If you're doing this for the right reason, if your heart is in the right place and your motive is pure, and you're doing it to serve God and the community, then
Absolutely.
It's going to be great. Whether it's great for 2 or 3 people, whether it's great for 100 people, it really isn't any difference, because if God wants you to do it and you're doing it for the right reasons, then it's going to be beneficial for the kingdom, and that's what matters.
Yeah. Just don't be afraid. If you have, if God's put something on your heart to where you want to start something, don't be afraid of stepping into that, and don't be afraid of failure. And I was listening to another podcast, and they talked about this as a lot of us suffer from analysis paralysis, and I just thought that was so true, because I think a lot of us are afraid of starting something because we think we're going to fail, right? And so I think, the more we think about it and what could go wrong instead of thinking about what could go right, we tend to be our own, hinderers of what we want to do. So
we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, so normally what we do is we sometimes bust out some scripture and some stories there, but I kind of wanted to read this off of, it's a post that Wheeler Mission posted here, and Wheeler Mission takes care of a lot of needs for homeless people downtown Indianapolis. So wherever it is you're listening from, that's what they do. And this is just a post that I thought was amazing. My wife talked to me about this because I guess this lady was at a women's Bible study that she was at. But it says, this is September 25th, it was around in there. How do you use your gifts to serve your homeless neighbors? Here's an incredible story about how a crafty entrepreneur is feeding our guests at Wheeler Mission. Norma Jean had plans to travel, but an illness and wrong step down the stairs injured her legs. As a therapeutic outlet, she decided to make cards and encourage her friends. But soon enough, she'd made too many. A friend encouraged her to sell the beautiful cards, but Norma Jean wasn't interested in making a profit. Around the same time, she received an email from Wheeler Mission reminding her that she could provide a hot meal for a homeless neighbor at just $2.25. And I thought, bingo, there goes the price of the card, she says. At her friend's suggestion, she would sell each card, but do so only as a means to support Wheeler Mission. When she started in April, Norma Jean set a goal to sell 100 cards by the first of the year, but by the end of the month, she had already sold 83. As her ministry took off, she encouraged her customers to become engaged with Wheeler and directly sponsor a meal. With that approach, the proceeds doubled and tripled by June. And by encouraging meal sponsorships, Norma Jean recognized her customers' generosity, as many paid more per card. As payment for her cards, Norma Jean encourages buyers to write their checks directly to Wheeler Mission, as every bit of the money she makes support her guests. That's amazing. So here is someone who took what little they could do, and I'm not saying little by like a belittling way. You look at numbers like 83 cards, like Hallmark probably sells millions and millions of cards every year. But here's a lady like by herself doing this ministry, and she is like directly impacting people's lives by feeding the homeless, by making greeting cards. So think about that for a second. What do you do? What do you like doing? What can you use as service? Because people think of service and there's this disconnect of like, man, I got to be at church an extra 6 hours to do blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can find something that you like to do, like board games, for example, and start a group and host a board game night every other week at the church and bring people in. And you may think, and like Ezra was saying, don't beat yourself up or like talk yourself down just because it's not a major important thing. Or did Mark say it? Mark said it.
I forgot if I said it or not. So I didn't.
One of us said it, and it was great. Don't belittle yourself. Don't treat what you have as insignificant, because it's not to God and it's not to those people that she's feeding. She may only have fed a few hundred people, but that's more than what I've done. I feed my family, and that's 5 people, but that's it. I don't go out of my way to feed other people because it's not my ministry. But here's a lady who took some bad turn of events and turned it into an amazing way to minister to other people. And the greeting cards are blessings to people, and the money she makes is feeding homeless people. And she's just doing it all like that. Just one lady just decided that's what she's doing. So think about that and what you can do for that.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I have a friend, a high school friend that currently him and his wife are over in Papua New Guinea, and his name is Mac Sylvie, and he through high school he wanted to be a pilot. That's all he really wanted to do, and if I'm getting the story wrong, I'm not 100% accurate on how he got connected with the organization that he's in. But what they do is he wanted to be a pilot, and so he started through his pilot lessons, or not 100% sure of how he got connected, but through his journey, he got connected with this organization in Papua New Guinea, and what they do is they bring resources in for Papua New Guinea, and they bring in Bibles, they bring in resources, they bring in all this stuff. And currently, over this past summer, him and his wife were in the United States gaining money, or getting money to go back and to serve and to bring more resources back to Papua New Guinea. And basically, the reason why I'm saying this is because here's a dude. He probably started this, I think it was sophomore, junior in high school, when he set out to be a pilot, and he kind of just let God take him wherever he wanted, and it flourished into this big old thing. And now I follow their blog posts every so often, because he says to me, I talked to him over the summer, and he says to me, he goes, "Now, Ezra, when I go over there, there's a limited amount of times that I have to be a part of, like, to have electricity. So they'll go 2-3 weeks without electricity. So, like, he says, like, whenever that time comes, he will have like 4 or 5 computers up and ready to Skype as many people as he can, and to phone call as many people as he can. But him and his wife are doing really, really well over there. And it started from this idea of I want to take a skill that I want. I'm going to get this skill, and I'm going to use it for the kingdom. And that's the whole point and the whole premise around what we're talking about, is finding that niche, finding that the ability to go, I'm taking this thing that God has given me to do, and place it into the kingdom, and allowing God to kind of flourish what I get to do.
Yeah. So one point that I want to add to our points here, this will be number 5 if you're keeping track, is don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, so obviously in this particular story, the young man didn't start the first ever missionary endeavor into Papua New Guinea. So obviously there was resources and companies that are out there that were doing that. And I say the same thing, that when you're looking to do ministry, look and see who's doing it. And it's not meant to be a discouragement of like, oh, they're already doing it, or oh, they're doing it better, they have way more resources. Don't think of it that way. Think about, how can I partner up to do that? There's a ministry that just started recently here in the church that kind of spawned off of the 12-step ministry that we have, which meets twice a week here, because that's how much of a need there is and how much it's grown. But Don, one of the elders who does the 12-step, his wife Ramona, has partnered with one of the other members of staff here, Robin, to do a group called POW, which is Parents of Addicted Loved Ones, I believe. But it's not just for parents, it's for anybody who is caring for someone who's addicted to whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever they've got. And this is a support group for those that are bringing others to support groups, because they need help too, and they need encouragement, and they need strength from other people. But that's not something that they just invented, and that's not something that they said, hey, let's do this thing. They looked into it. There's this organization that's already doing that, and they can share off of those resources to help minister to the community here. So that's a great point, I think, to add to that, is that when you're looking to do these things, look at who your community is, who you're ministering to, but go a step further and look at how other people are doing that same thing as a way to help you out. This is just a smart way, I think. And it'll help you, I think, in the long run, to partner up with things that are already going, that are doing it.
And this is going to be a pitch for the student ministry. But to kind of piggyback off of what you said is not reinventing the wheel. So, for instance, so this coming spring, the student ministry is doing a series called entitled Life 101. And basically what that is and what that entails is bringing people that have life skills in and sharing that with our students. So what we're going to do is for 3 weeks, we're going to have 3 life skills come in. We're going to rotate all 3 high school small groups through those. And then on the following 3 weeks, we're going to have a whole nother set of skills to have them learn. And basically the concept is, over the last probably 3 years, my volunteers and I have kind of sat down with each other and talked about this concept. Every week in, week out, every time that we meet, we feed them Christ. And they get fed and spiritually and a lot of times physically we feed them. But what we've started noticing is these kids these students do not have life skills. I've talked to numerous parents over the years, and I've heard them kind of just converse that their students don't know how to cook, to clean, to change oil in their car, to do anything. And our volunteers and I have really gone a step further. Okay, if we're going to have a well-rounded student leave Valley Mills, then why not set them up with both biblical and life skills? Mm-hmm. So that's the backing behind this series that we're getting ready to do. So what that means is if you have a life skill, whether it be balancing a checkbook, whether it be cooking a meal, whether it be finances, whether it be ironing, or changing oil or changing a tire, or if you have a life skill that these students could eventually, because honestly, I mean, us 3 can think about probably 5 things right off the bat of when we hit college or when we hit on our own, we're like, oh crap, I don't know how to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So why not jumpstart that early for these students? So if you have a life skill, whatever it might be, email me at ezradavis@valleymillscc.org or Mark. But if you're going to email Mark about that, he's just going to forward it right to me. So, like I said, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's innovative, and it's also this opportunity can be able for you to come alongside the student ministry and really figure out, okay, I have this life skill. Here's how I can apply it to ministry.
Yeah.
So
that sounds pretty awesome.
A little bit of a pitch.
So we're going to wrap up here. You guys have some closing statements you guys want to share?
Yeah. Whatever it is that you think God has placed on your heart, no matter how big or small you view it, God can use it for good. He can use it to, build His kingdom. And when it all comes down to it, it's not about you or it's not about how you think you're going to make someone feel. It's God's going to take it, and if you're all in, God's going to take that and multiply it and make it into something that you may not even see it becoming right now. So I think God works in incredible ways like that. So no matter how insignificant it is, just run with it. In the Bible, the illustration they use for, I guess, the church is seeing it as a body. So, one of us may be an arm, one of us may be a leg, one of us may be an ear or a nose, whatever. So it's just a picture that it's basically a collage of all of us that have these unique gifts and talents that we can use that we lack in other areas. But God can use all of us to work towards the same goal, which is to lift Him up and glorify Him and edify Him and to bring others alongside us in that. So I think that's just the all overarching theme of what we have talked about today. I didn't know if any of you guys had anything else to say.
Yeah. Just remember that if you are wanting to step into a ministry or start a ministry, understand, and you're afraid to do it, understand that you are a one-off copy. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. So therefore, don't be nervous. Be bold. The God, our Creator, was bold. Christ, His Son, was bold and audacious, and the people that Christ called us and everybody else. He made us to be bold, and he taught us to be bold and audacious as well. So if that's anything that I can leave you with, is make sure that you're bold and you're audacious, and you could step out and be that person.
So just remember some of those points too. Spiritual gift tests. Take a look at the things that you're interested in, what you can use. Know who you're ministering to. Don't get in it for the money or any of that stuff. And don't reinvent the wheel if there's something that you can jump on that's already going that can help you minister to the world that you know. And I want to leave you with one final thought too. For those of you who maybe aren't in ministry and kind of thinking about it, the other side of this coin, and it's a little bit slightly off topic, but I just felt like it needed to be said. There's a lot of people that will critique and criticize people that are trying to do ministries that are smaller. And I myself was one of those people back in the day where I'm like, oh, really? You're going to do a knitting club? Wow, good for you. You know, stuff like that where you really look at things with such a cynical view. And I hope that that's not you. And if it is, like, you know, check your heart and measure that with God and see if it's something that you should keep maintaining. Because the point of it is this. I've had many conversations in this particular church with people who had issues with someone who was leading a specific group. And we won't get into the specifics of it. It's not here to, you know, have dirty laundry or things like that. But what I saw and what I pointed out to these people was that this person who was doing this thing, this ministry, was actually bringing people to church. And there were people who were setting foot in the church doors that would never set foot in church ever because of this ministry. And I said, can you say the same thing with what you're doing? It's easy to sit back and say, oh, look at this, they're not legitimate, or this person's got some problems, how are they doing this kind of thing? And I'm trying to be vague because I'm not trying to, you know, poke at anybody in particular here. It's just kind of a general statement. But look at the fruit. Look at what you're doing. And when you want to criticize someone who's doing a ministry like that, it's very damaging. It's tearing down of the body. And they may not be perfect, and they may not be doing the fun things that you
I'm
think
thinking
are
about
fun.
starting
Just
a random Facebook page and like just kind of, you know, kind of torment. You know?
Doesn't make them any less than anybody. We're all here struggling and doing the same thing, trying to connect and trying to worship God in the ways that we know how to. So, flipping it back, if you're looking to start a ministry, there may be some naysayers out there. It's just going to happen. And you might see some of that conflict. And hopefully it doesn't discourage you from continuing to minister to those that you love by doing the things that you love and getting close to God and to those people in your community. So just take that for what it is, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
One of us said it, and it was great.